Monday again. It's the New Year, so Happy New Year's to all of you out there. Mike and I took the holidays off, so we haven't been down here for the last couple of Mondays. And to kind of make up for that, we decided that we would work a long day today. So it's about noon right now, or just a little after, and we plan to work until about 6 or so. So we'll get a little bit of extra stuff done today. Mike isn't here yet. He had to drop his car off by a mechanic, but as soon as he gets here, well, I'm going to start, and when he gets here, we'll be working together. So anyway, let me turn the camera around and I'll show you what we're going to be doing today. So when we left off, we were doing some touch-up painting on the box. We are not done with that touch-up painting. But we are going to postpone the rest of that for now. It looks pretty good, and this will get us going. I'm going to go ahead and put the legs back on today. Then I'm going to mask off this top section up here and spray paint that neck black again. And then we're going to go ahead and mount the back box on its hinges up on that. So that's the beginning part of what we're doing today, and then after that we'll be installing the circuit board, putting the front plate back on with the score wheels on it, mounting the computer plate in the back of that, and we're going to start doing some wiring and stuff. So it should be a lot of fun today. And before we get started, I just wanted to show you this control board. I have mounted it all on this board. Will be mounted by 3 screws to the back of the back box. You've seen most of this before. You've seen the relays and the control board. What's new on here is this little audio driver board that will let us put audio out, and right now it's hooked up to a jack, so we can just jack some amplified speakers in it. But this board over here is actually a stereo 20 watt per channel amplifier that we can drive our own speakers with. So we don't have those speakers yet, so that's why that isn't wired up right now. But we'll show you all of that later on when we get it all hooked up. So I have the neck all masked off. I'm just going to use a rattle can of paint to spray paint it. We'll probably put a few coats on, let it dry, and then we'll move on to the hinges. Okay, that's the first coat. We'll let that dry for about 20 minutes or 15 minutes. I'll actually read the can, see what it says, and then we'll put a second coat on. So it says it takes 20 minutes to dry to a touch and to recoat within an hour. So probably in about 15 or 20 minutes I will apply the second coat. Okay, this is going to be a little hard to see in this video, but we've set the back box back up on top of here, and we're checking out the fit of the hinges we bought. They're hard to see. They're inside here. You can see a little bit of the metal sticking out there. They're not screwed in or anything right now, and you can see the flipper there, which this part's going to screw onto the bottom of the back box. And this part is going to screw into a piece of wood we're going to mount inside here, and then that will allow this back box to hinge down. So we're going to be working on that. So here you can see the hinges, the way they're going to sit in here. We're going to cut a little bit of an indent in this wood so that this sits flush with the top. And then we're going to cut a piece of 2x4 that'll mount right across here. Put a couple of wood screws in from each side to hold that in place, and then we'll bolt that hinge down. Here will be bolted down, and here will be bolted up into the back box, and then that'll be good. I can't imagine this one holding anything. Well, so close to the edge. By the way, you guys might notice that this hinge is actually being installed upside down and the beveled parts are on the other side. There's not really anything we can do about that. And so we decided not to do anything about that and just put it on this way and hope for the best.
I think I'd try one in that whole bed.
Really?
Just put 3 in it and call it good.
Okay. That's true, because it's not really holding the weight when it's up.
Right.
So, okay. I think that's good enough. We'll repeat it on the other one. Just barely comes through. Mike had to run out for a few minutes, so I'm back alone. We had to rework the hinges on this box a little bit. We forgot something very critical, and that was that we were measuring to this level, but we were measuring to this level. But that isn't where the top of the glass is. There's actually a spacer in here and then the metal piece. And I measured it out and stuff, and it turns out that I needed to add about that much more space. Plus, even without that space there, it was too tight, and that resulted in me having to move the hinges forward from there to there to put less spacing here because the hinges used to be mounted way back here, and now they're mounted down there. But at this position, let me see if I can get on the other side where I can use my hand right. This works perfectly. Hinges up just fine. Lines up good back there. Even with the back. And the bolts that hold this in screw right in. So at this point it's a success. Those hinges don't really hold any weight hardly ever. They just, when you lay the top down to transport it, they need to hold it in place. But I could only get 4 screws in the hinge, 2 in each leaf. And that was because, well, let me show you. We may drill another hole and add another screw or 2, although I don't think it's critical enough, and I'll let Mike make that decision. So here you can see that the front 2 screws don't screw into anything because there's nothing out there. And if you look underneath the hinge, you can see that there are 2 screws toward the very front, but the back 2 screws aren't screwed in. And the reason they are not screwed in is because they are right above this little gap where the back glass slots in and sits. So if I put a screw through there, the screw would stick up too far. I mean, maybe we could get a short half-inch screw or something and get it in there. I'm not sure I can find a screw that fat and only a half-inch long, but you know, that's an option for the future. But again, I don't think it's necessary because this works just fine. It's nice and strong. It's not going to go anywhere. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. So that's it for that part of the project, and we'll move on to something else. Okay, for my next part of the project, I decided that I would mount this control board in here on the back of the back glass board. I need to find the screws that we took out of this and mount this back in here. And that's pretty much all that goes on the back of this, except for the wiring that's going to wire these solenoids up to those controllers there. The next thing I'm going to work on is this little thing, and I don't think I've showed this to you before. This is actually going to get mounted on the other side of the thing to illuminate the digits. And as you can see, we've got a bunch of LEDs in here. This is a little bracket that I designed and we 3D printed. Little fingers back there hold the LED strips in place. And then it's just got a male and female connector on it. And I'm going to, if this mounts and clears the glass and everything like I think it should now, this is like the 3rd iteration of this design, then it'll get mounted on the front, and I will do 3 more of them for the other places, for the other score wheels. So right now I'm going to turn this board over and see if that'll mount on the other side. Okay, I found the 2 screws that hold that in place, and so everything is now mounted securely on the back of this, so I can flip it over and work on the other side. Okay, the prototype LED holders are mounted. I had to enlarge the holes here just a little bit, and I added a couple of mounting holes here because these are not supported on the end, and there were some holes. You can see them here. There's existing holes in this thing, so I just drilled out a couple of those and mounted them. On the other side, there's actually a big space there, so you couldn't mount in the same place. So in that one, the corner mounts are holding it up. But it's probably a little hard to see, but if you look down there, you can see that's well below that little light shield. So this will definitely easily clear inside the cabinet and behind the back glass. And it gives us more surface area to mount LEDs that are facing up that can light up things like the words and numbers and stuff like that. So yeah, this looks like it's going to work out pretty good. I still need to see how it fits into the back box. It might be a little too long in this direction. I might have to shorten it. So I'm about to try that out right now and see how it fits. But I just remembered, I said everything was mounted on the back. I just remembered that the free game thumper also needs to be remounted back on the back. So I'm going to get that and mount that first before I go up there and try and fit this. So the original back box thumper was mounted right here, I think. Let's see, right there. But as you can see, well, I guess there's nothing wrong. I was thinking it would interfere with the light things, but they're actually on the other side of the board, so shouldn't be a problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and screw it back in right there. Well, Mike is back. The thumper is remounted. It'll pop up, hit the top of the cabinet, make lots of noise. So that's it for the back of this. I can't think of anything else. Well, actually, I can think of something. We have 5 DC relays that need to get mounted over here. Those haven't been mounted on a board yet. So when I get that done, I'll bring them in and mount them over there. Okay, well, it's starting to come together. So we set the play field in here because we're going to start doing the wiring in back of the back box. We screwed the back box up onto the top here. You can see my light modification just barely fits, but it does fit. I may modify it just a little bit, shave it off just a little bit on that one side. The rest of them I think should be just fine. And back in the back, you can see that the back of the box is set up fine. We've brought the cable out, and as you can see, we have more than enough cabling. So back here, we're going to have some terminal blocks mounted down here, I believe, that are going to be distribution points for the power coming from down below. And then over here, we're going to have some DC solenoids mounted, and that's pretty much going to be all of the electronics in the back box. Down in the base of the main cabinet, we're going to mount the transformer, some fuses, of course the tilt mechanisms, and the normal stuff that's down there, like the plungers and coin boxes and things like that. So anyway, it is definitely coming along very nicely. Paint job, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give us about a 3.5 probably, but you know, if that's what we give ourselves, then then it was at about a -8. So it certainly looks way better than it did before we took on the effort of painting it. So yeah, it's looking really good, and the play field here, you can see, just looks awesome. Unfortunately, we still haven't gotten a glass to replace the one we broke. We still cry over that, drink a beer or two. And we still haven't decided what to do about this little blip in the plastic that we had to deal with. Mike is tempted to leave it just as a what would you call that? Birthmark?
A manufacturing flaw.
Yeah. So anyway, but overall, it is starting to look like a nicely refurbished pinball machine.